first loan fund committee meeting of the UCCRC to order. It's June 4th at 9:32 a.m. Can we stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Michael Ham.
Here.
Rachel Silverman here. Steve Kelly.
Not a member, sorry.
That's okay. Joe Ferraro.
Here.
Randall Everett.
Here.
And then, okay.
The others
I'll just
are
skip
not
the others
members.
who
Yeah.
are not here because they're not part of it. Okay. Mission statement. We don't have a mission statement for the committee. Do I read the mission statement?
For the CRC is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
The mission of the Ulster County Capital Resource Corporation is to promote community and economic development in Ulster County in ways that complement the work of Ulster County, primarily through issuing and selling bonds for nonprofit institutions. This is our first meeting, so there are no previous minutes to approve. Do we have any public comments on our agenda items? Hello, Steve.
Oh, hey, good morning.
I would like to amend my attendance roll call. Steve's here. All right, no public comment. Do we need executive session?
No.
We do not. Any old business? Well, no, because it's our first meeting. So new business. The loan fund committee charter. I guess we need a charter.
So I put this together. This is a very draft from the ED and it's at the back of your packet. This is something, just a basic outline of a charter based on the policy and the application, which again, you'll find in your packet as kind of discussion points or to use as reference material. But outside of this stapled packet, you'll find a document that looks like this that says a loan committee charter. And this is really just my musings. And I have sent it to Shannon prior to the meeting. And so she can kind of, I think, guide the committee through what a charter should look like and items that the committee will need to kind of agree upon so we can get a charter in place. So hopefully everybody has something that looks like this.
So I have a quick question. This is way off the beaten path of where you're at.
I love where we're starting.
Okay. In the future for this committee, can they do it by Zoom?
No, the committee is still subject to open meetings law,
Okay.
which requires an in-person quorum to
Okay.
conduct business.
Just had a question, that's all.
But others could come in as long as the three appointed members of the committee. So like if Mike didn't want to show up, he could Zoom in, right? Because
So-
the three members of
Because
the
I'm not a voting
committee
member. Yeah.
are 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, as long as you have a quorum of members of the committee present, everybody else could attend remotely.
Okay,
So we only need two.
right. We only need 2 for a quorum.
So I think the only thing that we've tossed around this question for a while is that we would likely want to amend our meeting policy because if we're letting other people attend remotely, we have to have opportunities for the public to attend remotely, correct, Shannon?
Only if you're letting committee members attend remotely.
Okay.
Right?
Alright.
So
Mhm.
in that instance, basically like Mike would be attending as a member of the public or as a member of the IDA board, not as a member of the committee. He's not voting, he's not conducting business, he's observing and taking notes just like everybody else.
Okay.
Right.
So like this is where it gets kind of fuzzy as well with the live streaming, right? So if you are allowing non-committee members to watch online, then other members of the public would have to be able to watch online. So if you don't want to live stream, that's where it gets
Got it.
hazy.
Yeah, but what about participating?
Well,
Are you asking for public comment purposes?
Yeah, or if let's say Mike wanted to participate in the meeting, even though he's not a voting member,
I think I physically have to be here to
to
participate. yeah.
participate.
Yes.
but I mean, we
Okay.
could we not, I mean, as chair, you should be ex officio of all committees.
Committees, absolutely.
So I don't, know why you couldn't, because your guidance for the overall organization is paramount to how we do what it is that we do. So if we are sitting as a group saying something and you want to chime in, that's kind of like you providing legal advice, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So,
I
I
would
mean,
think the
I
chair
think
would
as
be different.
ex
I mean, I can
officio,
make it real easy. I mean, I'm accessible. So if you have something, and if I had to be here for any reason, I would be here. I'm just asking the question
because
in
you don't
general.
vote.
Yeah, right, I don't vote anyway,
You
so
wouldn't be a voting member, but I mean,
I
if,
don't vote.
I mean, I know that, for example, when we were doing things and I chaired the police commission, I had a committee and I would sit because I had knowledge that they did not have,
Mhm.
but I sat at the back of the room, and if they brought up something, I chimed in and said, no, the policy is such and such and such and such. And then that was, I said what I had to say and then let them discuss it based on the additional knowledge that I was able to provide to them. But I didn't vote. I didn't guide the conversation. I just said, here are the facts.
Right.
This is what you can and can't do.
So it sounds like we can't Zoom you in to participate, but if we're talking about meeting quarterly, and if at any of those meetings you want to, or we need you to be actively participating more than just watching the live stream,
Yeah, I'll
you
be
come,
here. I mean,
or anyone.
you
Is it
guys
like,
got
it's like
this.
other committee meetings, right? So if anyone else on the board wanted to come to a committee meeting, they could.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So for the charter, do you want to go through the draft that you have, or should we
Well, I
maybe
think
get a like
maybe,
overview of what we want to, what the charter should include and should
yeah,
accomplish?
maybe let Shannon kind of give an overview and guide the board or the committee from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with just an overview of the 3 committee charters that you've already adopted. So governance, audit, and finance. The ABO, many years ago put out, form standard charters that they want IDAs and CRCs to use for their committees. So that's what your current charters are based on. I read through the draft that Hillary put together, and like she said, it's based on the policy which you've already adopted. I think there are some precedent in here from the Columbia County materials that we've kind of been consulting as we've been going through this, and as well some influence from your existing charters. So I didn't find any major red flags in this draft that would make it non-compliant. Basically what the charter acts as is as a bylaws of the committee, right? So the IDA has bylaws that says we're going to meet on these days, we're going to meet this many times annually, we're going to have a chair, we're going to have a secretary, we're going to have a treasurer, etc. So this charter does that. Right now it says that you will meet quarterly. That's subject to your discretion. You could schedule special meetings as needed. It says that the chair of the committee would be appointed by the board. You could change that, but that's consistent with your other committee charters. And it outlines the duties and responsibilities of the committee, how many members there needs to be, etc.
Are there other, besides the Orange County model, are there other IDAs that have something similar that we can refer to, or do we only have the one?
I would need to take a closer look at that. I don't think there are any other IDAs or CRCs that we work with that operate a loan fund that's not a county loan fund, right? Like this is your own independent loan fund, but I can pull up some other materials.
I was just curious. I don't know if we need others, but I was curious kind of where we fell in the
Yeah, there aren't.
groundbreaking or following a trend
Yeah.
Well,
models.
currently, the county is initiating a revolving loan fund right now.
Yeah. They have
They've
a,
had it.
It-
I
it-
was on that for
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Abe is heading that up right now.
Yeah, so I think they've got their revolving loan funds, their revolving ag loan fund,
The ag,
and then a
yeah.
bridge loan fund that they're all kind of launching around now-ish. I don't, know a specific time frame for that, but
And that's similar to ours?
so I haven't seen any of the documents relating to that. I think their nonprofit revolving loan fund or bridge loan fund will be similar to ours, but I have not seen any of the documents relating to the terms of those loans and how they're structuring it. But it's UCETA that will be administering it, and UCETA is very similar to the CRC in its structure.
So is it possible that we're duplicating efforts? At some point, might it look like we're doing the same thing for the same potential candidates?
Yes,
And
and I think the idea is not that they're in competition with each other, but
No,
most of these are very small amounts.
right.
So we're just kind of deploying more potential capital into the community. But yes, they
Right.
are very
I
similar.
wouldn't think of it as competition more. I wouldn't want to complicate things for the people we're trying to help
Yeah,
by muddying the,
Well, yeah,
the
I mean,
opportunity.
is
We
it,
don't want it
is,
to look like there are two different things they should be considering, or if there are two different things,
can they
an
apply for
obvious
both?
reason
Yeah,
why.
Can
I-
they apply for both? And, you
Yeah,
know, like
that's
if
kind of what I
it's
mean.
$100,000 grant that they get and
And we cap it.
UC only gives 50 and
Right.
we only, you know,
Yeah,
but they
I-
need another
Okay.
50, then
I
they
think
can,
that's an opportunity, yes, that
Right.
that we see this as an opportunity to
Mhm.
be a way for nonprofits to access a larger amount of capital by tapping into these various revolving
Right.
loan funds and having them work together cooperatively to
which,
get.
Okay.
which sort of segues into the conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago when this was all started. The mission. I think we need to figure out a mission for this fund.
Mhm.
One of the things you need, you know, we should be very particular that it enhances economic development, it enhances job create, you know, if
Mhm.
somebody, if a not-for-profit does jobs training, that's a perfect example. If, you know, and I keep throwing out, you know, daycare, but that
Mhm.
That's
provides
something- yeah, it's
people
an
the
epic thing,
opportunity to
right?
get to
Yeah.
have a job and not worry about their child care, you know. So I think we need to be very specific about what the mission and what we're looking for so that we don't have every nonprofit knocking on the door because they're a nonprofit
Right.
coming here for funds from us.
Yeah.
I think there's language already in your draft policy,
The policy,
not charter, the
Yeah.
policy,
The policy,
Which-
and then
very clear.
which I think is if not perfectly is.
Yeah, I mean, if we
And
could,
90%
but
of
you
the
should
way.
lift
Yep.
some of that, because if there's going to be a section on the website,
yes.
it needs to be quick and down and dirty so that
And
people can
That
look
doesn't
at
go in
it.
the charter.
Well, I did also put it tried to put it up front on the application. Again, trying to use,
Yes.
like not overly complicate the language. But it says that additionally, the purpose of the loan proceeds must be allowable as stated in the policy and align with the broader mission of the UCCRC.
Right, and then in the policy, it gets a little more
Yeah,
specific.
and that gives you,
exactly
as
what you
loan
said.
committee members, the opportunity to say, hey, does the purpose of this ask align with, not just the policy, but also the greater mission of the CRC?
Right.
So the other thing to think about too is that the revolving loan fund has a mission. And the reason I keep going back to that is because not everybody, you know, if somebody sees that this exists, they may not be coming for an application, but if a news reporter comes and wants to write a story, the mission of who we are is
Yes.
right there, front and center. They shouldn't have to go to an app, you know, I
Good
don't
It's
point,
on
need
good
it.
point.
the objectives. We kind of again, I think the idea is not to make it so specific that we paint ourselves into a corner because we just couldn't think of that, nonprofit that could have been coming. But we do have, some objectives of the loan purpose that I think in some ways serve as like a mission.
Right.
And
Yeah, and
maybe
if it's already
figuring,
here,
yeah,
you just pull it out.
Yep.
Because I'm assuming there is going to be a section on the website
Oh, yeah.
for
Mhm.
this. So that should be the first thing that people see once you do your press release announcing that this has
Yeah,
gone
yeah.
live. They
Yep.
can come there see the thing, and then page 2 is like, you know,
Yeah,
the
we don't want it
application, the
buried
this.
in a policy where
Exactly.
people don't, next thing you know, we don't want to be like, become the no loan fund committee
Right.
because we're getting applications that don't align with what the
Right.
purpose
So if they
is.
see it right up front, they
Mhm.
can
Yeah.
say, oh, that's us.
Yes.
Well, you're gonna have a plethora of people coming to you when
Well,
this
we
first gets
hope.
off the ground. It's gonna be,
That's the hope.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
I
you
think-
already know, or you think?
I
So
think, no, I
Alright.
think I think you're gonna get a lot of hits on
I
this.
think this is
Awesome.
a really good program.
Yeah.
Good.
And I did,
And it
you'll,
reads real well.
you'll
does, it
find
reads
in
really
your, this is again just Hillary Nichols's musings of questions that I think we're kind of bouncing around with. And I just listed them in a way to kind of, I know it's a lot, but guide our conversation and make sure that, you know, a lot of these things that are kind of floating out there in the ether can get addressed. So, you know, these are again questions that I had as I was working through this. You may have additional questions, but it would be helpful for me to kind of get the committee to, once we establish the charter, kind of focus on some of these points that for me I would rather know up front.
Yep.
They don't have to be formal, but
You wanna run down these?
Wait, but before we do that,
But
just so we sort of
before-
stay
yeah.
in,
well,
so we
that's why I
go in
want to
order.
stay in order.
Let's,
Thank you.
right, so back to the charter.
Yes.
What should we or do we need to do with regards to the charter draft?
We should adopt it
To
and
move
then
it.
a
Or-
new recommendation to the board, right?
Correct. So like I said, when I was reviewing it, I only had some very minor comments. So I think my plan was to send Hillary a red line to include in the full board's packet
Okay,
next or in 2 weeks. But most of those comments are just cleanup. I think, you know, unless there's major discussion on the frequency of meetings or what we started with in the beginning, the video recording, live streaming, etc., then there won't be major changes to the draft that you have. So you could make a recommendation to the full board to adopt the loan committee charter to be presented in final form at the meeting on June 17th.
So the plan is to meet quarterly.
I think quarterly or potentially as needed.
That's what I was gonna
As they
say,
come in.
as the committee meets as it deems, I mean, because as you know, there are periods of feast and famine.
Yes,
Mhm.
we know.
And there's no
Yeah.
point in locking us into having to meet quarterly
Yeah.
if there ain't no
I
applications.
put that on there. It said at least
You know?
quarterly and may meet more frequently as necessary. The reason why I kept it at least quarterly is because I wanted to, you know, we've got the application component, but then I think, and maybe we could do it in combination with the board meeting, is letting people know where the loans are. Are there people who are not making payments? You know, like what's the status of those loans? So I wanted to keep some sort of structure so that way the board, if we have a famine section where there months, like say 8 months go by and we get no application, I don't want the board to be uninformed of the status of the loan. So that's why I kept some sort of structure to a regular meeting.
Why
but
don't
if
you
that's
just
the,
make that an agenda
But I
item?
said we can
Yeah.
put that
On
within
our
the
board
loan,
meeting.
we can have a loan committee update to the CRC
you
and
do it
do
right
it
there.
with,
Right there.
yeah,
Every month.
right
and if
there's
it,
an
and if
update.
it
That's
needs to
easy.
be a
Nobody's going
meeting,
out of their way.
it's
Yeah.
just a meeting we
We can
hold at
call
9
it.
o'clock before
Exactly.
the 9:05
we have
regular
an
meeting.
issue with a specific loan, we can have it right before. So
Right.
I'm fine with that, and I can change that language maybe that they instead of shall meet, like, you know, some may meet quarterly or as frequently as necessary, but will
Endeavor to have a
include
report monthly
a
for the
monthly
board,
report to the board. We can add
which is
that.
something you can generate.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
exactly.
Administrative.
And maybe put that in there,
I'm putting
At a
notes,
minimum.
yeah.
an administrative report of.
Yeah, like
as
we
to
do with the
status.
audit report
Yeah.
monthly on, you know, all of the projects under construction and update, yeah.
If nothing's
can-
going on, then
There's no
no
report,
report.
yeah, I like that, all right. So,
All right,
Okay.
so for purposes of the charter then, as revised with the red line version, that's what we want to present to the board at the next meeting
Correct.
to be adopted? Okay. Do I have to take any formal?
I think we need a
Motion,
motion.
second.
Yeah.
All right, so we
So
need
I move that we approve the loan committee charter with the proviso that redlined
Yep.
version will be presented to the board at our next meeting.
yes.
Perfect.
I'll second that.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, perfect. All right, now
All right, so
So,
now,
we've got
discussion
our-
of the policy and application, but for this, I think maybe going over your questions first would be advisable.
all right, yes, and again, trying to keep us time sensitive as well and keep us on topic. So, I kind of just, again, this is just like more, like they jump a little all over the place, but the first thing I wanted to address is our meeting structure. So we want to make sure we're following open meetings law. Where I would like to get some input from Shannon as well as committee members is that one, the purpose of the committee ideally would be to be reviewing loan applications as well as financial documents. Where the confidentiality of those documents and how that gets done in a live stream and where that intersects with the CRC's law around open meetings, we just want to make sure that we're structuring this that, from the get-go, we don't accidentally disclose any confidential financial documents, but that we're also following open meetings law within the structure of the committee. So I guess that was my question. How are we doing this?
Sure. Sent myself an email with my notes. Okay, so yeah, I think the main open meetings law difference between, the CRC and the committees of the CRC versus the IDA and the committees of the IDA is that an IDA is considered an agency under open meetings law. So under the open meetings law and the general municipal law, the IDA is required to live stream all of its meetings, post the video links online, etc. The CRC is considered a public body, so its meetings are subject to the open meetings law and that you need to have a quorum. Members of the public need to be given an opportunity to attend in person. But as we were discussing earlier, live streaming is not required. Most of our CRCs and their committees do live stream just so that the transparency requirements are the same. And we would recommend keeping a video recording of your meetings anyway, just so that you have a record of your discussions. I'm gonna skip to or I was gonna skip over questions 2 and 3. So question 2, will applicants
which
be
is-
required to present to the committee, or will the committee review independently of a meeting with an applicant? You don't have to have the applicant come to a meeting and present to you, but you have to be careful again with the quorum requirements here, right? So if Hillary and the committee chair met with an applicant, not subject to open meetings law, right? It's not a quorum. You're discussing with them to go over questions to your application, you're getting it ready to present to the committee and then to the full board. But if you do have 2 committee members there, it's a meeting, then you need to conduct it as if it would have to be a noticed meeting, right? It gets into multiple different questions. So any back and forth with the applicant while working through the application probably makes more sense for Hillary to handle rather than having committee members get involved. That way you're not coming into those open meetings law issues.
Okay, but if one committee, if she had a question and wanted to come to one committee member, that where we don't have an issue with quorum,
Correct.
okay.
So is the thought not to have them present?
That's what
to-
yeah.
I mean, my personal preference is that you can, I think about the Jamaican guy that we.
The spice guy? The spice guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's something you can't glean from a piece of paper that you can get from an individual's presentation, whether they appear professional, whether they know what they're talking about as it relates to what it is that they do and what they, those are things you can't get from
Yes.
a piece of paper
fair.
or an
So-
application. So I'm thinking they can come and give us an overall sketch of what they're doing, and we won't get into the particulars of the application, like the finances or whatever. But I mean, we could ask, how many people do you employ? And how, if we're
So I
worried
think,
about the demographics of the staff, is there
well, for
diversity in
me,
it? Is it this? Is it that?
this leads into my next question. With the IDA, that's fine because we don't have a limit on the amount of incentives that we can give. The pot is limited. So if we have multiple applicants all vying for the same small pot of money, are we going to have a way to ensure that we are, you know, is the interview going to be part of how we make the determination of who is going to get the loan if more people are requesting loans than the fund allows?
Right,
So,
we need
like a
something we can point
rubric,
to.
and
that
not
it's-
just he came in in a suit and that guy came in jeans
Yeah,
kind of thing. So
but
like,
to me, I mean, I don't think
This is
that's
a
the
first come,
point.
first serve, is
Like,
it?
yeah, is it first come, first serve? Are there, I mean, are there things that we'll think about this particular group uh, has more economic value to the county than, say, I mean, it may
Right.
come down to those
But
kinds of
But
things.
it comes down to that, depending how we've determined we're taking applications and rolling it out. So if we've got a rolling application all year round with a set amount per year, that's kind of less relevant because it's a rolling application and we can't just sit on one to see if something else better comes along.
mhm,
That's
But
right.
if we have an application deadline,
yeah,
Right.
even if we did it more than once a year, but an application deadline, we get everything in by the deadline, we're now comparing against each other, assuming we have more applicants than we have money, especially, and we'd have to make a decision, and then
how are
how
we
they
making
present
this?
it in their interview might
I
be
would
relevant.
strongly recommend that you just do it based on the application date, because our trying to determine what has the most merit is really going to be difficult.
Mhm.
And when we run out of money, it's the last one where there might be,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
so I just don't see that
Yeah, you gotta put it out there. This pot is available.
this is the pot that's
And
available.
it's- and
it's
and when
rolling.
it's gone,
It's
it's
gone.
gone, and when
Yep.
it's paid
We've
back.
had to do that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
I
just-
also think it's important, to Randall's point, that we need to evaluate the economic benefit to the county.
Yes, I don't mean that we'd say
I don't
yes to
think we can
everything.
ignore that.
Right. We're not a cash machine. You
Well,
still
yeah,
have to
exactly.
convince us.
Yeah.
And then
That
my other
this-
question is, if we do have multiple applicants, and, hopefully we do, and we get to the point that there's more money being requested than we have in the pot, do we have the option of saying, we really like this opportunity, we really think they're gonna bring something good to the county, but they want 50,000 and we don't have 50,000, but do we have the option of saying, we'll give you 30?
Yeah. These are all the questions I was kind of,
Yep.
it's Pandora's box. You open it
Yeah.
and you don't
And
know
at
what you're
some
gonna
point,
get.
at some point, you're gonna have to rate the
You have
applicants
to.
that
So
come
do
in.
you-
So
so
you're gonna
yeah.
have to make a
I agree
choice.
with
Do
Randall.
you
You're gonna
guys
have-
want a rubric that takes, which is where I was getting, the policy and the objectives of the policy and be able to objectively score it and say, hey, you guys got a 10, you guys got a 9, and this way, when it comes down to saying, like, I think in the beginning, it's going to be first come, first serve, we're going to be able to get those loans out. But then if as loans are getting repaid, we may have, again, it's a bridge loan, meaning that grant is coming. So we'll know on XYZ date, we're going to be 50,000 plus and we can give out another loan. And if that point there's a little bit of a bottleneck, do we need some kind of rubric in order to evaluate who gets awarded the loan as the pot refills and those?
Well,
those
here's
paid?
the other, here's the other.
I would just say it would be best if we just decided if it's fundable or not,
Okay.
and then do it in
I agree
succession.
with Steve, because some people are not gonna
We're gonna end up
check
having
the box.
a lot
Oh,
of
sure.
problems.
Right.
And to your point, Joe, it may be a great project, based on like a community, the community needs that that kind of, whatever they're creating, okay? And maybe that guy doesn't check all the boxes, but this guy does, and that's on a, and I'm not trying to be throwing guys, shading people, but maybe it's not in the best interest of the community, you know what I mean?
Or the
Exactly.
fun. They may not be able to pay it
That's why I
back.
agree
at
with
the-
Steve. I think
We
you
just
really
decide if it's
gotta,
fundable and we want to fund it, yes or no. And if it's yes, then it's sequential.
yeah. And listen, this is, one thing about this, this is a great this is great, okay? But you wanna know something? There's gonna be some speed bumps along the way.
Mhm.
And it's gonna develop,
one.
and it's gonna
Oh,
morph
yeah.
into something really good.
But I
Mhm.
do think we need to sit face to face with.
Okay.
Oh, I
yes,
absolutely
yes,
agree
yes.
with you.
I
So-
don't,
I agree with that.
I don't think we just
Yeah.
take the application.
That's
No,
my,
if
one
you
of my
can-
questions.
at the
Do
end
you
of the
want
day-
them
Get along,
here?
you should be in the chair.
Yeah,
Alright.
and I mean,
Yeah.
we can,
So that's
we
a yes,
can
that's easy.
priority rank them as they come in, but I mean, as we look at their financials and things, we may be able to see that, hey, well, they haven't, they haven't really been good with paying back this or that, so I mean, those are things that
So,
we look at internally, not at the table, but as we evaluate their application, their ability to pay back on time, whether or not, they have the funds to pay it back, whether they are willing to collateralize half the
Why would-
grant or
Why wouldn't
whatever.
they be able to collateralize the portion of the grant that we're advancing?
Aren't they, isn't the collateral the grant?
there's a grant.
Yeah,
It's the grant.
So if they get the grant, we should get paid when they get the grant.
Yeah.
We gave a
So,
loan to a guy who had $8 in his bank account.
Yeah.
That's okay if he has 100,000, that's,
You know
In
what? I
profits.
mean,
Yeah,
you know
but that
what?
could be, that 100,000 that we're advancing them
Yeah.
with $8 in the bank
Yeah,
could be eaten up, and it becomes, this other stuff is my priority,
Yeah.
not you guys.
So that
That's
was
the
a-
problem.
That
Right.
comes up
that
later.
was a question I had later. I think just going back to, I think I just want to make sure again that I have it correct. So when we doing the interview with the applicants, does the board want to get the application, make the determination, hey, yes, they check all the boxes, let's bring them into an interview, or do they come with their application and an interview at the same time?
I think
First
check
one.
the boxes and
And
then
then
call them in.
invite
if
Check
we
the
them.
wanna
boxes and
see
then
them.
we invite them in
Exactly.
for an
Right.
there's no
interview.
reason to
Right.
interview people that are ineligible.
Exactly,
Exactly.
okay.
Right.
The
Uh,
application should tell us a lot. And.
Yep.
you know,
then interview,
We're almost-
okay,
We're almost verifying.
Exactly.
love it, all right. And so then I think we can, skip to the next section that I was, let's just stay in order, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Website.
So talking about the website, this is really more, I think of Shannon, and then again, going back to the open meeting law requirements, we are asking for a ton of financial documents. Typically that stuff is confidential. So what are we putting on the website? Do we put redacted documents? Do we not put these documents?
These are not for profits. These are public organizations. They have to file a 990
Yeah.
every
Oh,
year.
that's a
gotta
good
file
point, yeah,
anyway.
so,
So it's
all
not-
right, so that
it's
makes it, so we'll
no
just
issue
make
at
them
all.
public.
But
Right.
but still, I think some of the stuff we're asking for is bank information.
Bank account
So
information.
we'd still need to redact
Yeah.
information. We can't be
Yeah.
putting,
And again, we're
Numbers.
trying to
stuff
do
online.
this without, council going through and verifying our redactions. So is there a way, I guess, to just not
Where's-
disclose a lot of the application material online if it's not being, if you guys aren't funding it?
can we go the other way? This is in my head, this might not be possible, but can we be in compliance and only post on the website things that were already public? Like the filings, so if the cover of the application from someone and their annual filings are already public, that goes on the website, but the rest of the bank account information and everything else, we just,
Mm-hmm.
as a policy, do not put up.
You just
Yeah, so
review it.
We just review it.
Can
the
we
ABO
put-
has a list of items that need to be on your website.
Okay, great.
For loans, it's the amount of the loan, the date the loan was provided, the recipient of the loan, the purpose of the loan, the current amount of the loan, and the status of repayment.
So maybe we
That's
can
it.
just put that on a
So we
form.
don't have to,
Oh.
we don't have to publish.
So that's
the
it.
Application
it.
process.
All right,
Yeah.
and then I think what I can
We
do
don't give
is
a
just,
loan, then there's nothing to publish.
There's nothing to put
Right,
out there.
exactly.
Yeah.
all right, but it would be subject to FOIL.
Correct.
But
And then
for the
different-
purposes of the website, I can just create like a cover sheet
It would be like your projects page.
and then put that
And we
on.
would upload, the
Okay.
resolutions
So there's
that you
That's
adopt,
easy.
like anything
Yeah.
that's like a board material versus an applicant material.
Right, so there's a
Okay.
redacting activity only if necessary.
Only if that, and it would be to the person basically putting out the FOIL request at that point.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. But I'll make sure we just kind of have that ABO.
And we can put on the website all of the approved applicants, what is it,
Yeah, well, we would,
990s or whatever it is that they have
We
to
could, but we
file
don't
as a
need to.
not-for-profit?
We don't
That
need
was
to.
not
We don't
included.
and, but there,
Why share?
someone could
Because
ask, request
they're already a
them.
nonprofit, they're a post.
Yeah, they can say, listen, you
can
can go to
Google it themselves.
guidestar.com. and
Right,
look
that's
it
what I'm
yourself.
saying, so
Yeah.
that we don't have to
Yeah, I don't
Exactly.
think
spend
we
the
got-
time
Right.
That's
having our lawyer redact stuff
Exactly,
that,
that's
or
what I was.
dealing with FOIL
And
requests.
don't forget, it's socially acceptable to use a black Sharpie now. So, okay, everybody lose track of that.
Good point.
So
Good point.
I think this makes it much simpler. Plus, on our, we will put our like meeting agenda online so people can see what applicants are, the board is considering. So that will make it easier as well. All right. So the next one is, I was speaking with Mark. We do have to report this in Paris. So if we put that if we're giving the loan for the purposes of job creation, we then also need to report all of the job creation numbers the same way we do with our IDA projects, which just adds a level of administrative work. And then we also charge the applicants for that, which again is not really the purpose of this loan fund. So Mark says if we just check no, that the purpose of this loan was not for job creation, we do not need to
It's not
collect.
for job creation. This is for a bridge loan to help
Correct.
a not-for-profit to be able to access funds that they have in the pipeline.
Right,
But
which
we
helps with
still-
the economic vitality, not
Not necessarily
specifically
jobs.
job
Yeah.
Right,
creation.
Right.
But we still need to report into Paris. So we wouldn't need to collect the New York State 45, and we wouldn't need to collect payroll journals then to verify job numbers, but we would need them to fill out an annual report as well as collect, I'm assuming, insurance documents, which is the other thing that we collect. So, are we doing an annual fee to these loans, or are we doing this kind of on the house?
I don't think I think the purpose of this is to get people's
Yeah.
small business off the ground. And I
Yeah.
think an annual fee is just another avenue of being punitive and collecting more money than what we're really trying to do here.
Right. There's
guess
already an
my
application.
question
I think
for-
we're just trying to have this be as.
Yeah, my question for
Yeah.
Shannon is gonna be, I mean, if, we do by our mission statements, it is job creation. So I'm wondering, which in the world we live in now, everybody likes to throw the foil around. Okay, so, nobody reads the rest of the vitality part. They just read job creation, and that's what we're gonna get. So if we do these loans based on not including job creation, what do you think the percentage is of certain individuals just foiling this and
The
coming?
job creation's not in the mission of the UCCRC.
It's not.
yeah.
No,
It
it's
is-
vitality,
it is one of
right?
the governmental
Vitality.
purposes.
Economic
Yeah.
vitality,
Okay.
which
It's the
could
public
be anything.
purpose of
Yeah.
the CRC.
Covered. I
It
don't
could
think
be, it
So
could
it-
be anything.
This
up to
should
our
be as
discretion.
easy as
That
possible for
language
the
isn't in
applicants
there.
and for us to determine if it makes sense.
That,
and-
Okay.
and-
right,
and-
that
and-
specificity
do
isn't
they
in
have-
there.
Just playing
a
devil's
legitimate-
advocate.
a
That's
legitimate-
fair.
Now,
You can.
there is going to be administrative
Is that me?
costs.
Yeah, and right
And
now
I
we're-
don't, I agree, we don't need a fee, but there is an administrative cost to administering these loans, sending out the bills.
Yeah.
If they don't pay them on time, if they don't, if you set up a pay, and I mean, somebody's gonna do that, and that's gonna be staff time somewhere.
Mhm.
We shouldn't eat that entirely, but at the same time, we only have a limited pot of
Yeah.
money, so it's not like we're gonna have 30,000
no.
Exactly.
loans,
Correct.
right?
Exactly.
We're gonna
No,
have
it's
10 or
very
15
limited,
loans, so it's like
um,
maybe, you know, a 0.5% of it is for administrative, and we eat that other.
Yeah, but so
part of
they
it.
are paying interest on the
They're paying
loan. It's
interest
not
on
an
it.
interest-free loan, and they do pay a very small kind of like closing fee. I think of like 1% not to exceed. Like it's basically like $100
Okay, so that's
fee.
where
So
the
that's
administrative
Right.
it's
cost
really
will be
looking
covered.
at, there could be, I could definitely see an applicant or a loan that we issue needing to be reported, you know, for several years in a row. And so our other projects, we make them pay for that.
But
We have to report it.
Aren't
So
we-
just making sure that we're on the same page, that we're not going to be charging to do the Paris reporting.
Let's go
am
back
I
to the
not-
example these guys gave with the guy $8 in his checking account.
Yeah.
He can't afford all these fees.
No,
Right,
He
they
just
can't
can't.
afford those
exactly.
fees.
Exactly.
So he's,
And
and
they're
you
not-
said, Hillary, he's paying interest, he's paying
Yeah.
an application
Yeah.
fee, he's paying a closing fee. We're just gonna kill these people.
Yeah,
Exactly. So we're
defeats
just
the purpose.
And that's
Which
not
is
our
not the
goal.
point.
It's not our goal.
so
Our
we
goal
just
is to help them.
We're trying to help them, and really this is a bridge loan. So we should not be chasing money because
No.
they should be notifying us when they receive the funds and cutting us a check.
exactly.
And that,
Yeah.
that way we get our money back at the beginning when they're flush with cash that they
Mhm.
got.
Yes.
And
Oh.
so they get the program started, we float that bridge, and then the grant comes in. And we do this all the time, and, as a hospital, the hospital floats the money, but we
Yeah.
have enough wherewithal to do that. Where a small place, that's what we're targeting, we're trying to help,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
doesn't. And
They're
so
coming to us because
they're
they
coming
don't
to
have
us, so they don't have the cash.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
but if we have that well designed that we get paid upon them getting their money, I mean, that's really gotta be the,
And I think it just, so for my purposes in, that administrative piece, I just want to make clear that in order for us to do this without huge administrative overhead costs, we will not be reporting into Paris on job creation numbers because
Right.
that's okay.
right.
Yes.
And then we can do it again within the costs of those small administrative fees, like the, that loan origination fee that we're charging them. For us to report in Paris, we can then, manage that hurdle in
What
order
is
to do
the,
that.
total amount? We have 275,000?
275,000. The max loan, I think we set at 50,000
And 25 stays as the
as kind of like a buffer.
buffer.
So if that's the case, we could limit this to 10 open loans at a time and be well
Yeah.
safe so that you don't have too much administrative
Exactly.
Correct.
work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what we're talking. I wouldn't think it'd be more than about 10.
Okay.
You have a couple 50,000s and then you have a bunch of little ones and it's gone.
Yep.
All right, so I feel like I got a good answer on that. And then the next one, this was one I just want to make sure I'm putting out there. I feel like I already know the answer, but the committee is going to be the one really underwriting these loans, and I just want to make sure that all of the committee members feel very confident in doing that, and that if there was anything else you need, like you wanted us to find someone from a bank or some other person to help underwrite these loans, just wanted to make sure that we were feeling
good.
confident.
I feel
How confident are you guys underwriting this loan?
I'm fine with
All right,
that.
great.
I think so
Okay.
too. I think
I
you're
was
just
reserve the
muddying
right
the
to
We
waters.
wouldn't
ask
do
a
the
lot of
money.
questions.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
I don't know if
If
you
we didn't have the
Yeah.
money, we wouldn't be doing it.
All right.
Exactly.
All right.
I
So-
just know other loan committees in the area are partnering with banks, and I wanted to make sure that you guys are well aware that we are not doing that, and that you all feel that you have the skills and abilities to
We have a finite
Carefully
amount of money
Mhm.
that
underwrite.
we.
I've been underwriting
agreed.
loans to my kids for 30 years, so
Okay.
I'm perfectly comfortable.
Mike's an expert.
you're
How
with
collecting
many
all
of
that
them
money
have?
back?
Yeah, how many have paid back?
And the payback, well, to Steve's point, you know what?
It's 100 years though, right?
Yeah,
what-
that's just
what
it.
the term is.
They keep renegotiating every 3 months, so,
And I'm sure they have very low interest rates.
yeah, and my
Yeah.
wife is the negotiator, so.
I think, all kidding aside, though, I think the other thing is, I think if you put a person from a bank to knock banks, I deal with them every day.
Mhm.
They bring a flavor to the committee that I don't think we necessarily want.
I
No,
agree.
I'm not disagreeing. I just wanted to make sure that members had the opportunity
Yes.
Yeah.
to say, hey, I would like this, or I would not.
I think the more streamlined this is, the more
Yeah.
successful it becomes.
Exactly.
Agreed.
And I think again that, as Steve pointed out, the the grant is collateralizing the loan. So in a lot of ways, a lot of that underwriting work has been done by the
Mhm.
time it gets to you
Right.
guys. So,
By the time it gets to us,
yeah,
they have to provide evidence that they received the
can-
grant,
yeah.
so.
All right. And so we touched upon this before, but I think talking about once the funds are fully committed, we would kind of have a first come, first serve wait list. I think really what I want to know is, would it be okay to, as that wait list, if we get money, like let's say someone pays back 50 grand because they got their grant in, that would be a period that then we could start issuing loans again, or do you guys want to see the fund fully repaid before we turn it back on?
I think you turn it back on when you have an applicant that is looking for an amount of money that we have
That we
available.
have available. I agree,
Exactly.
but I wanted to just confirm that with you guys. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I could see that becoming administratively a bit of a headache if we end up with a bunch of small
Small loans.
loans.
Yeah.
We have a couple of $50,000 loans, not a problem, but if we have a bunch of small ones and we're kind of
5, 10
turning back
grand.
on
Yeah.
or revisiting a wait list every time a 5 or a 10 comes back in.
Yeah.
and
I think you
I
should
agree it's the right way, but I'm just
have no more
thinking
than 10 loans in total or
Well,
something.
this could
We-
end up being
is
a little
there,
bit of
is
a.
there a way to, we could do it so that, January is open period for applications for this loan, and then we don't take any more until July, so that it's not.
But we want it to be
We
rolling.
want it to be
So
rolling.
It's gotta be
It should
rolling.
It's
And
gotta
we
be
can-
rolling. When
We
people
can
get
also cross this when
the-
we get
we-
to it.
Yes,
we-
I just meant to put it out there that this might be something in year 2 we were like,
And
in
this is-
hindsight, this could be more
Yeah, and
efficient.
this is where I just wanted to kind of get the board's like initial reaction on this to make sure we're all kind of thinking in the from the same viewpoint more than have to make a definitive decision right now.
Right.
The other thing too is that as we go through this, not that there is the money, but we may feel that, we had to turn away a number of good ones. And we think if
Add.
we've got the
Yeah,
money,
we can add
we
to the
need
loan
to
fund.
go to 375 or 350 so that we don't have to turn
Yeah.
away people if we've got
If we've got
the
the money,
to
we
do
can
that.
always
We can make that
add
recommendation to the
funds
board.
to the loan fund.
Does that need
Absolutely.
to be part of our charter, though, that the committee has the authority to increase the total amount value?
I think it would be, to me, I think it would be a request from the committee
I think
To
that might
to
the
be
the
board.
board,
I
and
agree.
the board can have the conversation and say, we ain't giving you any more.
Yeah.
Keep
This-
with that, or
Exactly.
how many did you turn down?
Yeah.
We think we turned away a couple of good ones, so yeah, we'll give you another 50,000. I
No,
mean,
that
it
makes
could be something
The thing
that
with-
simple.
I think there's a time essence here. When someone receives a grant, they need to be able to get that money as quickly as possible.
Mhm.
Because typically they would get. Is that mine?
I love when your phone listens.
not mine.
I said that
Um,
before, is that me?
So, I know, it's crazy.
This is not me, right?
It's your phone, it's your watch.
My watch.
Oh, the watch.
Sorry,
Did you ask Siri something?
I did not. Sorry.
Siri, I
Um,
feel like grant-
There's a real time issue for these organizations. They're going to apply, they're going to wait sometimes over a year
Yeah.
to wait to see if they get funded. Because like the state, you put in an application doesn't mean that they're going to, even though there's a deadline for you to apply and they say they're going to make a decision in July, they may not make a decision in July. It might be October, and then they need the money so they can get started because there's still deadlines for reporting, even though it's crunched. And so I think I also see if we have too many loans,
Mhm.
then we're going to need to hire somebody to administer it, and then that makes it less affordable for us to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick. Steve, congratulations. Steve has been given the leadership role, okay, as the chair of Board of Trustees of the Healthcare Association in New York State. Look at you.
How about
That's
that?
great. That's fantastic.
Congratulations.
First person from a small hospital to ever.
That
Wow.
is great.
Nice,
That is
that's
great. You've done a
fantastic.
tremendous job out there, man.
Yeah.
I don't
I'll
want
tell you
to.
Amazing.
what.
Let's keep going.
I
Yeah.
couldn't help it. It just come across on my phone. It,
Yeah.
boom.
I thought you'd be interested.
So,
All right.
Yeah, but yeah. Good
Okay.
stuff.
So I think we're in a good spot. And again, I think the rolling application and then as those funds start to be given out, we can kind of relook at this. So the next question I had was, let's say we do have an applicant, they come to us with that approved grant, we're collecting a lot of financials. What if the approved grant and the financials don't align? Is there some condition that would trigger a denial based on financials, or is this going to be on a per project basis?
I think it's a per project.
Okay.
It depends. Although,
It really should be based on the grant. I mean, that's the
right,
collateral.
but
So-
we're asking for all that information so that we can make a decision.
So
If
what-
we see
yeah.
something that gives us pause,
Right.
we have the right to question it.
But,
Absolutely.
and I don't, and you may be able to answer this, but say I put in for a grant from HUD for something for 50,000 and I'm anticipating I'm going to get 50,000 and HUD says, no, we're only going to give you 25. How do we,
What we're
I
going to
mean,
get is we're going to ask
I
them
mean, from us,
we're going to ask them for the letter, the approval letter that states how much it
okay,
is.
so they can't,
And-
they need an approval letter
Yes.
with their application
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
And that
saying that
becomes
their
the-
grant was approved
And
for
the
this
amount,
amount.
yeah.
they have
Okay.
it has to be approved because that's what the collateral is.
Right.
There's
Right.
no
The collateral,
collateral if
right.
they only have
So they
an
Yeah,
can't
that's
application.
ask
fine.
us for the 50 and the grant says 25.
Mhm.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
They could ask us, but
But yeah, we could go to the 25
But
because that's
again,
the,
I'm just thinking the way our government has been operating now, where you get
Correct.
you get a letter saying we're giving you 50, and then they come in and they start slashing budgets, and then you get a letter 6
We cut
weeks
it.
later
Well-
that, oh, we're only giving you 25 because we had to, you know what I mean?
So I think this actually,
Mm.
Randall, leads into the next question. If you guys want to move forward on something similar to what you're talking about,
Mhm.
are we going to or there's some shaky financials, are we going to be requesting any personal guarantees?
there isn't any personal guarantees
Okay.
because it's not
No.
personally owned.
Right.
Well, sometimes some nonprofits, when they've gone to banks for bridge loan funding, will make the executive director make a personal guarantee. That's not,
That's
I
the
like
reason
this
you
that-
really
I
don't wanna
think it should
bank
be
on
better
this
to be the
committee.
chair of the
Right.
board. Wait a minute, Mike, that's you.
We don't.
Yeah,
So I
no,
just-
you'd want,
I
I'll
think
vote no on that. Yeah, that would be a no.
that's something I've heard from nonprofits in the community. So I'm just saying if we
Can you
have a
imagine?
questionable loan.
Oh no, I don't think we want to do
I
that.
sit on a lot
Okay.
of boards.
If
I'm
it's
not signing
questionable,
up.
we don't
I'd be
want it.
more
All right.
concerned with things like if it turns out in what we're reading that this grant has been used to collateralize a different loan,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that
We want
things
first
like that
position.
are gonna
Yeah,
give me
no.
pause.
Okay.
But
Or
The
if
first position, that would be what we
the
want.
grant
Right.
was 50 and they sent you a letter saying you're getting 50 and then something happened
right,
Yes.
and they're giving you 25
exactly.
and
Well, we would want the ability to change our mind, I think. So in the case of, a situation could happen where you have a not-for-profit that gets into trouble that causes them to lose the grant. But
Right.
typically, I can't see that happening before they get it. I could see where they may not get all the money.
Well, if they use it improperly and are forced to pay it back.
Well,
So,
that's why we want to get paid first.
correct.
So Shannon has to leave soon. I have two very legally questions that I'm hoping we can skip to while she's still here.
There you go.
One is, let's say the board approves the loan. Are we, at least in my mind, we're gonna have council, at least kind of now, draft us some boilerplate loan agreement templates? Is that what, the rest of us has kind of envisioned? And if so, can we kind of direct them to start drafting those as we
Yes,
get the
please.
loan? Okay. And then the second legal question that I had is really just, I'm not a banker, so this is a little bit of a new territory for me, but are there any specific fair lending policies, legal requirements, training obligations that as a loan committee, because this is not our personal money, this is the money of the CRC, that we need to be mindful of as we move forward with issuing loans?
That's an excellent question.
So that was my other big legal one. I just want to make sure we're checking all of those boxes.
Yes, absolutely. So, I don't know that I can cover that in 3 minutes. I don't think
Okay.
there's any major red flags there, but I would want to take a closer look at it and then give some more information at the meeting
Okay.
on June 17th.
So,
Okay.
all right. So we'll stay tuned. Okay. And now we can go back
Did
to
you
where
have
we
the other
were.
one? If council needs to be involved, who pays for those costs?
Yeah,
Is
well,
that
that's
one?
something we can kind of deter. I think the members can also determine, let's say we do have an issue and we got to bring counsel in. Is this something that as the CRC, we are going to pay our cost for our counsel for that? Typically for IDA projects, we move that cost to the projects. These are very different types of
Different, it is.
entities coming to us. So
Right.
just want to make sure we,
This has got to be minimal compared to what the IDA has to deal with.
Gotta
on
be,
legal
yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta make it easy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you gotta
feel like-
keep it.
this is really I'm thinking more of when things go sideways, legal
Right.
costs.
If
not
there
general.
is a big issue
Yeah.
and we end up with significant legal fees in a particular matter, then maybe we want to reserve the right to recoup
request.
those fees.
Okay.
I think after this first
But-
round, once you get into the weeds on this, I mean, if the legalities build up, I mean, really, this has got to be approached again. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I agree.
I think
Okay.
So, I mean, but right now, get it off the ground.
All right.
Yep.
Well,
So go ahead.
Well, the only other, and I don't know if this ever happens, but if a not-for-profit screws something up and loses their tax status and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they
That's
gotta
a horse
start
of a different color.
paying
Yeah.
everything back to, I mean,
Which is
that's a
why-
problem.
That's why we
Yeah.
wanna get our money when they get their loan.
Yeah. And this is, I think, why we're doing such the robust underwriting in addition to the grant. We want to make sure that the non-for-profit that's coming to us is kind of standing on solid ground. So, and hopefully in the grant process, a lot of these are government entities. They take a really close look at that nonprofit as well. So, all right, my next question was, does the board have any consideration of wanting to have a balanced portfolio? I think Rachel spoke about this a little bit. Is it going to be all $10,000, like little piecemealing it? Do we have any kind of, hey, we're going to do this many loans that are 50,000, this many 10, or this many that do this type of, like shakiness? Is there anything that you guys want to do and consider like portfolio balancing? That was my only question.
Got to roll the dice on that one. See
Or
what you
just
get.
see what
Yeah.
we get.
Yeah.
Leave it come
That's
to
what
them.
I thought, but I wanted to make sure we all talked
But I think it's
about
an
that.
excellent thought, sort of like a revisit when we can look back on a
Mm.
year
Yeah.
and
Okay.
see what we
Sure,
got and
sure. But to get started, I don't think we need all these rules.
All right.
Yeah.
No, these are really just like where my head was at to make sure that when I
Joe,
start
have you met
collecting
Hillary?
applications.
Have you met
Well, I'm
Hillary,
meeting
Joe?
the new Hillary today, Mike, to be
Oh,
honest.
Mike calls me. I got a list for him. I was like, "Are you ready? I got my list." So Mike's used to this. Okay.
Very
So,
thorough.
so my next
is great.
question was really, I imagine myself serving in this role where I'm doing some sort of preliminary review of the application. So in my mind, if I can't get all of the documents from them as required in the application, then it's kind of like well, come back to us when you have that. That's our IDA process.
Mhm.
Are we looking to have a similar process, or do you guys want to see stuff even if it's got hair
It's
all
not
over it?
No.
Okay.
No.
It should
So
come to you.
to that point, once again, we've talked about this extensively
Yeah.
over the years. We're not chasing people.
No. Okay.
Right. To
That's
give them
not
money.
your time is better used somewhere
Right.
else
So-
than
We're not
chasing
looking
people.
for money, it's
Right.
up to you.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I think to
So
some degree, it's your judgment too.
yeah.
If you say, wow, we got everything except for this one thing,
Mhm.
Yeah,
You might
but if
bring
you
it
wanna
forward.
bring it to the committee,
I
then
think-
that's fine.
I think-
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just know when people apply for a loan, there's an expectation that the loan is going to get reviewed, but I'm going to kind of stop them that the loan can't be reviewed until all of the documents have been submitted and that everything is
Right.
thoroughly filled out.
And have a
it can
checklist for
say
them.
that on
Yeah.
the application.
Yeah.
Have a checklist for them and boom, 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 boom.
And so that leads into my next question. I've spoken to BST. They've kind of set stuff up in our accounting system side in terms of collecting the loan documents, but they are accountants. They are going to be helping us to, reconcile these loans monthly. Is there any role that you see for BST in this process? What I don't want to do is, get them involved too late in the game. So making sure that we just are on board with the fact that BST is, at least in my mind, going to be a big partner in helping us administer the
Okay.
loan once it's approved.
So, to what financial burden is BST gonna be involved?
Well,
Okay, and I'm gonna, I mean, I've said this before to BST, so it's no big deal. But you take the accounting on the CRC.
it's 900 a month right
Okay,
now. It's our
think
accounting
about that.
costs.
How much activity is actually in the CRC?
We write
It's a
about-
lot of money. It's a lot of money just to go flip-flop. You know what I mean? So my question would be, to what extent is their involvement and what is the cost?
Well, that was and that kind of goes into
Because once
the
again,
next
you need to
question.
hold down the fort on this.
That
Or you
was-
don't make it lucrative.
Yeah, the next question is really, right now, the CRC and the IDA too, in a lot of ways, is only set up to accept cash payments. We have a very basic QuickBooks subscription for the CRC. The IDA one is a little more involved in that it can do a little more things. So are we looking at increasing some of our, software subscriptions in order to be able to handle and track loan payments? I think this is.
QuickBooks can't do it.
Yeah, I was
It
gonna say that
can,
too.
no, it can, but the
does.
QuickBooks subscription for the CRC is the entry level basic one. It doesn't
But
have.
are you suggesting we need something better,
We
or
may
we don't know?
need,
We'll
my
have to find
question
out.
is, are you looking at us to be doing this manually, or if needed, can we be increasing the QuickBooks subscription in order to manage the loan?
No, I think we can increase it
Okay.
if
If it needs it.
yeah,
If
you
it
need
needs
it.
it. All right,
You
good.
need it.
I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
we have all of the tools.
No, you're gonna come back with a cost, if, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we would have
Yeah.
you review the cost. We would give you probably some options, different, platform subscriptions,
Yeah,
but
But again, it's not a thing we know yet.
we don't know yet. But I
Right.
just want to make sure that our heads are all thinking in the same direction, that we would be using software in some way to track and,
Right,
manage the
because
loans.
at the end of the day, you're gonna come to
Yeah.
the three of us and say, this is burdensome,
Well, that's
and then you're
Thank
gonna
you,
say,
Shannon.
That's the
I
trigger.
need this, I need
See you,
that, da, da,
Shannon.
da.
Take care.
And then
Shannon, thank you.
whoever
Hi,
the,
Shannon.
See you later.
whoever the chair is in their report, when we have the next IDA meeting, is going to report out and make that
Yeah.
request
no.
for the full board to approve whatever additional
I agree.
subscription.
I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't the expectation that I was sitting there with the calculator every month, kind of, like that
No.
there may be some additional, administrative costs relating to managing
She
the
thinks
loan
we're gonna
fund.
buy her a
Yep.
calculator.
I got one on my phone. The phone's got a calculator, so.
That was good.
Your asks are pretty
I
big.
know. All
I gotta
right.
tell you.
Okay. So just making sure we're on the same page. We talked about Paris, so we'll skip that one. The next thing is, in our policy, we have language around 3 missed payments accelerate the loan, and then we also have language about restructuring the loan. Just making sure that, we're not there yet, but just kind of keeping this in the back of your head. If there is an issue with the loan, there is a little bit of, I think, to me, some ambiguous language about.
So
But
my
there shouldn't
question
be
there
payments
is,
involved.
No
It's
payments.
just,
yeah, my question
thing.
is, if,
You get
if
it,
you
it's
give it to
us.
collateralized, you get the money, you give us a check.
Right.
That's what
We
it
can have
is.
the money within
There's
10
no,
days.
right, there's
To have
no,
enough money
once
so
you
it
get it,
clears.
once you
So-
get your check from the government or whoever's giving it to you,
endorse it over
your
to us.
first check
It's tough.
out of that
Okay.
pot of funds comes to repay back whatever you got from us, and then after that, you can do whatever you
Well,
wanna do.
and maybe we had this conversation somewhere too briefly, and it just stuck in the back of my head. But my thought was, we want to make sure that whoever we're lending the money to has some skin in the game. And so if, let's say, they have a 18-month period where they get the grant, that's the grant period. In 18 months, they're going to get the nut, and we get that. That in that 18-month period, they are paying the interest on the loan, which may just be $15 a month, but we know where they're at.
Oh.
We know that they're invested. We know that they have skin in the game. And then when we get our loan, we don't have to worry about also getting the interest payment. We're getting the loan and now we're whole. And if we, if anything happens, we're gonna see
It's
the.
a lot of extra work for you. I don't think it's
don't-
worth it. I think,
You
you
don't
know
think?
what?
I think
No,
it's
I don't. Because
okay.
the actual interest, on a $10,000 note, how much is that every month? It's like,
Do the math. Is the juice
Oh,
worth the
it's
squeeze?
just not
No,
worth it.
I agree, but maybe there could be, I don't know. For me, I feel, I just want to make sure we feel confident about the repayment and we don't just lose touch with someone for 18 months and then we come back and say, hey, so that 20 grand,
Right.
let's go. I want it
What-
right now.
Shouldn't
But
be
what if
18 months.
instead
We're
of
gonna-
it,
we're gonna
instead
know
of
that
it
they got-
being
Contract
the
is
money.
a contract is a contract.
What
They're
if
gonna
we
know, right?
requested,
They're gonna
depending on
They're
the
gonna know
length,
when
that
the
18 months
funds
or
will
it
be
is,
released. Do they send that with
monthly,
They
quarterly,
generally
whatever,
don't.
an update on the
Oh.
They give you
project
on an
for
approval
which the money's
that
being
allows you to
used.
go
Okay.
and start
There's
spending
no
money, which is
QuickBooks
that's
involved,
when we
there's no
give them money
money.
to spend.
I would imagine this is
That
something
are
they would
eligible
be
for
doing
being
or
used by the
using
loan.
for their board and other purposes
It usually
anyway.
takes,
True.
So we stay in touch.
it
We
might
don't
take
not
30
hear
or
from
60
them,
days.
but they don't
These are
have
not
to.
gonna be long-term
They don't have to
loans.
spend
Right,
the time, nor
right.
do we, processing a $15 check.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I think that's actually a lot
all right,
better.
we could do something. I just want,
I-
where there's a touch point
Right.
between the grant, between the
Right.
money being issued and the grant being repaid to us.
I think that'd be
That's
more
all.
productive.
All right.
Yeah, I
frankly.
agree.
Okay. So I like that. And then we talked about a scoring policy and then we talked about fair lending. So these were all my questions. So I'll stop there and let you guys as committee members bring up any questions, thoughts, or things that you had before we launch this thing.
I have a lot of questions on
Yeah.
the loan policy.
Please.
All right, let's move to the policy.
Now this was approved, just so you know.
Okay, we can
We can
Doesn't mean I-
amend it, but
Doesn't mean I don't have questions.
no, you can.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make sure
Go get a
everyone knew.
pedicure.
I'm never getting one of those, Randall. I'll tell you what, when you go, I'll go with you.
There you
Oh,
go,
boy.
okay. Go for it.
All right.
So some are just simple, but in the second paragraph on the first page, we're going to support eligible nonprofit organizations. How do we define eligible?
So I think eligible would mean that the nonprofit is like a actual nonprofit. So sometimes they may not have filed all of their articles of incorporation. We're going to check that they're an eligible nonprofit. Now you can't just come and say I'm a charity.
Why
You
don't you say
actually-
they have to be in business for a year or something
Yeah,
like that? So
and we had some of those kind of on our documents on the instructions page where you can kind of find it the best is really talking about all of the things that they're going to need from us. So as long as you can provide all of those things, then you're eligible to apply. So you,
And some of that stuff should be in the mission, up. When you pull
Yeah.
these words out of here, you can bullet those kinds of things that get to his
so
questions.
I think what I
Examples of
could-
eligible organizations are boom, 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 boom.
yes. Okay.
Must been in business for a year. Must have, be current on your S9, what is it? What is it?
990s.
990.
990
yeah.
fines.
So we have
Must have an eligible IRS thingy, whatever.
well, we have a borrower eligibility section.
Right.
So that would be, again, these would be things that would make an organization eligible.
So that's what we're going to use. Okay,
So
that's all
yeah,
I'm asking.
yeah.
Just wanna make
And then
sure.
again, the purpose of it, you could have an organization that is checking these eligibility criteria, but then the purpose of the loan also has to fall within the objectives of the loan program. That kind of makes sense.
Good.
Okay.
Some of my other questions got
Right.
answered, but now I'm on page 4.
Yep.
On the interest rate, 4% or cost of capital tied to CD rates at time of application. And
Yeah.
then note 3, the loan committee shall determine whether the lower, I assume that's supposed to be, or higher interest rate will apply to a given loan. So is what we're saying, our marching orders, is the committee that's, approving this, that we're gonna decide the interest rate based on the financials of the nonprofit?
I think the idea was to give you as a committee So as interest rates fluctuate, 4%, um, or the cost. So right now, our most recent CD that we did was, I think, 2.65%. So if that goes upside down, let's say CD rates go all the way up to 6, you have the option of determining whether or not, based on the application in front of you, you would like to give them the higher interest rate or the lower interest rate, and those could switch the cost of capital, or the
Right.
4%.
I get that. But
So
are we saying that we're gonna make that determination just based on a gut feel, or how we feel about their ability to repay the loan? Again, we've said it a million times here today, the collateral is the grant,
yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
so we really don't have a risk.
I think it's a really small risk.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
It's
mean, I
really-
guess
we
the
should
grant
be-
could fall
we should
apart,
be getting
and I don't
most-
live in the grant world, to be honest, obviously.
I live in the grant world.
I know you do.
So
So I
I can tell
appreciate
you
your
that-
input.
that typically you will get the money in, 30 to 90 days. Let's use that. So these are not going to be long-term grants.
No.
And they're not going to be paying a lot of interest because
it's very short term.
very
Yeah.
short term.
What do you
Um,
say, 6 months, 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I would say.
To get a
It-
grant money release?
Once you have a letter, I would be surprised. Very few things take 6 months to get released.
90 days.
Well, it could be, if it's a
Their goal is
reimbursable.
to get the money out.
Right,
If
right.
it's a reimbursable grant with like let's say a capital project that could take 6 months to complete,
Well,
that could
typically,
be something where,
yeah, that's true. That may take longer, but there's not a lot of capital grants for 50,000,
so I think the reason we had this, and I know Shannon left, and speaking with Shannon and Chris, was to not, what our council always likes to do is give a committee enough options where you don't ever feel like you don't have the ability to be flexible based on the application. So that interest rate is really, the intent is to tie it to the cost of capital. But we don't want to paint us into a corner, because if that cost of capital goes way up, we still want to be able to issue low interest rate loans.
Something feels a little bit icky
Okay.
about, that's the technical word I'm using, about having us determine an interest rate based on the nonprofit and its application versus having the flexibility to change the interest rate based on something that is not in the application but is in the marketplace.
Mhm.
Right.
So I like having the flexibility to set the interest rate, but not based on
An applicant.
the applicant and their ability to pay. I don't want that.
Because
don't
we
wanna be
already know
making
that they
that
have an ability
judgment.
to pay. That's otherwise we wouldn't be giving it to them.
I would rather make it on, like you said, if the cost of borrowing money is low, we can charge the lowest.
lower
We
rate,
want
yeah.
to charge the lowest possible interest rate we can. So as long as we are within the
What do we say on the,
consistent with our fiscal responsibility, whatever the lowest interest rate we can charge is, that's what we want to charge.
or just
Right,
to
and
tie it to CD rates, which are,
Right.
you
Yeah.
can look them up.
So like
What-
you said, 2 3/4, right? Hillary was our most recent one.
Yes,
So are we
yep.
gonna say that, okay, we can take this $275,000, put it in the bank and earn 2 3/4%? And so we're gonna make money on it, and we're gonna charge 3 points. It's a 3%,
That's right.
right?
Mhm.
And then that's it. If the CD rates go up to 14%, which they were there,
They were-
because my first mortgage was at 16.5%.
Yeah.
100
I
years
was at
ago.
13%.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mine too.
Must have been under Carter.
1981, I got married.
There you go.
16.5%.
Under Carter.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it could happen. I don't think it's going to. I think the
Right.
economic conditions in this country are different. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But if they go to, if CD rates become 6%, do we say we're going to charge 6 1/4? It depends on what our goal is. And our goal, we've been saying all day here, is to help these not-for-profits.
Not make
So
money.
really, we're not looking, we're
Right.
accepting the fact that we're not looking to get rich on this $275,000.
Correct.
Yes, but I think we do, just to kind of keep in the back of our minds, we do have to have some kind of like fiscal responsibility to
Sure.
the money. So
Sure.
I think if interest
Well-
rates do jump to 16, we may need to like revisit the 4%.
Agreed.
Well, but
Why would we
but
have-
the but the flip side to that is like one of the advantages we have in the UCCRC for people who come to us when interest rates are high as a public authority,
Yeah.
when we give bonds, we can beat the rate that
Okay.
people go to
Yes.
the bank, which makes, when
Which makes us
when
a
it's
more
low,
attractive, yeah.
we can't beat it. But because we are a municipal agency, we can, so I think that's the same thing we
So
should do
why come to us
here.
if we're
If
on
we're the same
playing
as same
field?
plane,
Yeah.
when you could
Don't
go
do
there,
that.
yeah.
To Joe's point, if it's 2.65 on a CD, you still have to cover a couple costs here because there may be BEST or legal. So if you ran 1% over CD rates, you're not benefiting, you're not making a windfall out of
Yeah.
it. What you
Right.
do is covering your administrative costs.
Right,
Right.
which is
Like
fine.
that sounds good.
I,
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
And then it's easy to calculate.
That's
Mhm.
correct.
Exactly.
We just
Very easy.
maintain, this is what it is.
This is what it is, and we
1%
reserve the
over
chance to
whatever.
change
I
it.
mean,
Uh-huh.
that's the draw.
Easy.
And that's
Right.
what flushes that money out where you're going,
They know
we're
what
out.
it is too.
And,
They
and
know
they're
what
not
it
gonna
is.
get that at a bank.
That,
Right.
they're
They are
never gonna
not.
touch
They
it.
are not.
Yeah.
They're never gonna touch it.
No.
But
You
that's
still
good
on
for
And
them.
five?
that
Page
is,
five?
that is
Because I
the
got a
real
question there too.
Hey,
avenue to
well,
helping
we
people
can
out.
move to 5.
Right.
Um,
I,
Because
the
we were,
question I had on the interest rates at the
That's
bottom of page 4.
all right.
Yeah, no 4%, just the
No.
current CD rates.
Could you go
for-
1% over? Is that comfortable?
Why bother? Oh,
Well,
so that we can.
Administrative
Yeah, you gotta
costs.
cover the cost.
But we're getting
But we're
interest.
getting interest, the
Why do we-
We're
interest,
getting the interest, that is.
Well, we
And
are
we-
getting interest.
we do
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
small,
You
yeah.
are getting it
Well, we're
anyway.
Well,
trying to
that's what
do
I
this,
was
this is
saying. We
supposed to
can,
be
Yeah, right.
if we
What am I
can
saying?
something
beat, if
charitable.
we can beat them going to a bank to get
Yeah,
the thing, we
Right.
should
There you
do
go.
it much in the
We
same
don't
way
need
that
the
we do with the
1%.
bond.
We don't really
We don't
need
need
it.
the
I don't
extra
think we need
1%.
it. I don't
Yeah.
think we need it.
Okay.
So really just,
Just-
like, again, the
Just the
lowest we
interest
can
rate.
charge.
We're
Right.
trying to have this be, this is our charitable, we're trying to help.
It's an enticement to have them come to us instead of going.
Yeah.
to
I
a
mean, I
bank
get
that
the
they
4,
think
everybody
of.
else is charging 7.8, you know what I mean? But this wasn't the purpose of what this was,
Correct.
so.
Right.
Okay. Next
Well,
question.
did we make a decision?
Yeah, what do you want, what
On
do
the
you want to do?
interest rate.
Let's not move on. until we
Oh,
get a
Yeah, you
so
guys
decision.
do
I
it.
thought, sorry, go ahead.
So I think the interest rate is, we retain the flexibility to change it, but our plan is to charge current CD rate
Yeah,
or,
Lower.
or
Current CD rates that we can get.
that we
yeah,
can
that
get.
we can
You
get.
can get
Because we-
2.65 because we're limited on banks.
We are so,
Correct.
so
The rest of
you,
us can get a much
you
higher
can get a
rate
much
right
higher
now.
rate. We can only go
So-
to very specific
I
banks.
just
Right.
crossed out 4% up to or and left cost of capital tied to CD rates at the time of application.
Yep, exactly. At the time of application.
And
Yeah.
then the note 3 goes away.
And note 3 goes away.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Now Randall's got a question on 5. I didn't have a question on 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
my question on 5, under ineligible use of funds, and you may be able to answer this question. You say general organizational administrative operating costs. Is fundraising and grant writing considered organizational and administrative operating costs?
No.
They are.
So
So,
I would say that they would be funds that are, the only thing, eligible use of funds, I don't know why we would care. I mean, it's, you know,
well, no, I'm
it
putting
has
it
to-
under, no, I'm looking at,
Oh,
it's,
ineligibles.
I wrote that fundraising and grant writing would be an ineligible use
Should
that's-
be
of
listed.
funds.
Well, that's probably typically what the eligible and ineligible uses should already be spelled out also by the grant.
It's in the grant. The grant's gonna tell you what you can spend the money on. There's gonna be deliverables that they have to meet. And so that,
So does that mean you just get rid of this whole section?
I don't
Yeah,
know. if
Well,
that
I
means
think-
anything.
well,
Right?
Right.
You don't need
The
it.
reason why I think we had that was to make sure that, like, this was kind of our hard line in the sand. So if you came to us with a grant that was going to be used, as I think Rachel kind of somewhat alluded to, like the refinancing of existing debt, that would be an ineligible grant project.
That would be ineligible.
So we wanted to have some use, so this way, again, like some guardrails up.
So the problem with your guardrails is that you're thinking like an IDA and you're not thinking like a not-for-profit.
That's why I was
So,
asking.
so grants typically do not cover any capital, anything. And if they
Mhm.
do, it's very minimal. It's, maybe a computer or other types of things like that. It's mainly paying for labor.
Yeah,
You're very often, you don't get paid for the cost of office space. It's basically for the labor and the small out-of-pocket costs such as expenses for travel for them to drive to the clients. Um, that's, sometimes they'll do a capital, but not that often. Most of the time, they won't.
So at least, I think again, we just want to protect the entity, but maybe then get rid of the general organizational or administrative operating costs,
I
because
got you on
that,
loudspeaker. I got you on loudspeaker.
The loudspeaker.
Yep.
All right.
Oh.
I thought I'd give you a call because you're not a part of the review group,
Mhm.
but I was watching and I had a lot of points. And as you saw, I sent a text.
I
May
was,
speak
I did too.
about the interest rates for a minute, if that's okay. Otherwise, if not, I'm not interrupting.
Go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead.
listen,
Hey, this is cost delivery. Hey, all right. So one thing, I am simply calling because I should have been in the room. I couldn't be. I was halfway in, but to come back for something.
Mhm.
But on interest rates and a couple other things, I would just mention that let's be mindful of the loan review committee is working on directives from the board and cannot discuss certain fundamental changes that, if need to be addressed, should be brought back to governance
Sure.
and then the board.
okay.
So one of the things I would highlight, at least one of the things, is interest rate. Rachel is correct. We cannot have discussion on agreed upon facts that are directives, and we can have choice on certain matters. Let's say economy is going really terribly, and we want to offer low rate loans. We should seek an approval from the board
Yes.
through governance.
was all.
Yeah,
right.
then
no,
decide.
that-
Costa,
just-
we agree. This is just recommendations to go back to governance
Okay,
to the
all
board.
Or the board, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
And one of the things is the way interest rate was to be written, I'm not sure why, so we should talk to council on it. It is the rate of the cost of capital that we have. And if that's the basis of it. So we cannot change that. And we just need to be mindful of that we have to be consistent. Loan review committee should be basically enforcing all the directives and analyzing and performing the due diligence. And we have to be equal for everybody so that we cannot make discretionary changes to interest rate for applicant to applicant as well.
Yeah,
What we're saying.
Yeah,
Keep it
that's what
all
we
in.
That's what
said.
we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
That's
But
what we did.
But at the end of the this document was sent out from the governance committee, right?
No,
The,
No,
the,
this
hasn't been
the,
launched
the
yet.
application, the application.
No, this
No.
was approved by the board. The loan fund policy was approved by the board already. This has gone through in March. March
Well,
was
yes,
a big
upon
meeting.
upon governance's recommendation.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Carl, you're correct. Please continue. Yes.
Right, so what I'm saying is at this point, anything that we
Anything
bring
here.
back here
Goes back.
that comes
Back to
up
the board.
goes back
Yep.
to the
Correct.
board.
Correct.
If,
On an
if,
approved policy,
if,
absolutely.
right,
yeah.
and if
Correct.
Mike chooses to send it back to governance to do
Correct.
whatever, then it goes back to governance for them to come back to the board. But at
Correct.
this point, this document belongs to the board,
Mhm.
and
Right.
we come back to the board with recommendations, and if the chair
Correct.
decides it needs to go back to you, then it would go back.
Yes. And I think at this point, what I'm hearing, I hope I'm hearing it correctly, that we may need a slight language change to just reinforce the fact that the interest rate is not really at the discretion of the board based on an applicant,
Correct.
but it's,
it shouldn't be, right.
It's gonna be a fixed number
it's a fixed,
for
Mhm.
all applicants.
fixed
Right.
On
number.
that date, on that same day.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, based on the
Exactly.
time of the
Application.
Yeah.
at the moment.
CRC's currently invested CD rates at the time of
Yeah.
application, which
It's not a rolling number every
It's
time
not.
you get an application.
Exactly.
okay,
It'll
I
all be
think
coming
if it
back to
was,
you.
Compliance would have problems with us.
Yeah.
yes, okay. All right, so I think I feel like I'm following along. Are there other, so we'll
Well,
move
so-
away from interest rate.
Right.
Are
Well,
there
based
other?
on all the interest
places.
rate discussions, though, the interest rate section on page 5 has to change too.
Exactly.
Well, that's what
Yeah, I
on
just did
page
that.
Well,
I
'cause
five.
it's
did
on
that
4
my
and
own, so-
5.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So we will clarify,
Reflect the language on 4.
reflect, yeah.
So the second bullet on page 6, payments should be due monthly or as outlined in loan award information, which is fine. But are we gonna define the date? Is the date like a mortgage works and it's the first of the month and they have to do the prepaid interest and all that other good stuff? Or is it gonna be, it's 30 days from the date of the loan, which is the easier way to do it?
Wait, so I thought we were saying that we're not doing payments monthly.
Well, but,
No.
yeah.
Or
exactly.
as-
We did say
it's-
that
I
earlier,
know,
but
but
this
this-
says there's payments due.
But it says,
Right.
or as outlined in the loan award information. Again, I think, I know Shannon had to leave, but what council tries to do is never paint us into a corner. So depending on how, we don't know what application is in front of us, so there may be an application where a monthly payment may make sense.
Okay.
But
That could be also, there may be disbursements of.
grant
They
disbursements.
don't give you all the money up front.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, or as outlined in so the idea is that most of these, we anticipate 99.9% coming to us with a loan award information, that awarded grant, and that's
Yep.
going to determine the payments. But again, never wanting to paint us into a corner, we have that option to do a monthly, and that the boilerplate, closing document that we'll have council draft will outline the loan structure.
But your anticipation is that once they get their money,
We
they
get ours.
cut a check,
Mhm.
right?
Well, that's what I would anticipate, because this is really for starters.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I
So
could
would there
see-
be
but-
payments, right?
Well, there might be payments, because suppose that they don't get the full award in one, I mean, we're looking at small amounts, typically $10,000, they're not gonna have lots of, because, the entity that's sponsoring it doesn't wanna write a lot of checks. But if it was something bigger, say they had, a larger amount of money, and we're doing the front end of it, they may need to, we may, they would be vouchering as they went along, and we would need to be getting back our money in pieces perhaps, because they wouldn't get all of the money at once.
Right, right.
And so they would need to figure out how to get our money as that went along.
Yeah, there
So
should be an
there could be
upfront
payments.
payment and then a balloon payment at the end, or they could have written
They
for,
could voucher over a period
yeah.
of time, so they basically have to spend the money in order to voucher it.
exactly.
And so if we give them the money basically for the first voucher, when they get that voucher, we should get our money back, because they have, but then they're gonna have no money to do the
go
next
forward, yeah,
phase.
so.
So they may need to pay us a bit at a time.
Pocket poor.
And it
Yeah.
could be the type of grant that I've seen where you may have a contract to provide, X amount of staffing based on something, and then you get paid monthly. So you provide the service up front, and then you put in your voucher and you get paid on a monthly basis. And that, like Steve said, it could become an issue where that upfront money isn't available through the life of like a program that they're getting
Yeah, if
through
it's
a
a
state.
program thing, it could be very helpful to them though, to be able to get started.
Yeah,
Because
and
laying out the money, look at, our hospital, Catholic charities, or any of with lots and lots of not-for-profits that often don't have any reserves.
Yeah.
They just really live hand to mouth.
so and again, that's where a lot of this language, working with Shannon and Chris, terms like generally, may be approved. These are meant to give the committee flexibility based on the applicant. So
Okay.
So the if one of the things we think about is we're not counting jobs, but keeping people employed is to the direct benefit of
Retain.
the county.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
yes,
So if I'm reading this right, does it mean they can't use this? Like if they need you know, if somebody is working on a grant and their
Oh.
money, you're here because we have grant money for you, but we don't have the money to pay you until we get the new grant.
That's a good point.
We're gonna have to lay you off until that money comes in, and we're saying you can't use this money to pay employees'
No, you can, yeah.
salaries.
No, that's
Working
not listed
capital.
though.
Well, it says, well,
Working
I'm looking
capital.
at, but general organization administrative operating costs is,
No,
that
those
to
are
me,
general. So that would be outside. So this would be general organizational costs would be like your day-to-day operating costs. And then the working capital, which could include payroll, directly related to the awarded grant. So if you have payroll costs that are directly related to having that employee as a deliverer, someone who's delivering the grant service.
I think the intention of what we're trying to do is to help not-for-profits that receive a grant start the grant,
Whether
not
it's
not run their
payroll.
business, their day-to-day business.
Exactly. So this is not the lady who, maybe does the payroll every week. This would be the employee who's getting hired to provide the service based on the grant.
right,
So
Right.
yes,
That's right.
that's under
You do
the
want that.
eligible
Right.
use.
Right.
The ineligible use would be your HR person. That would be an ineligible use. But
Okay.
that's typically going to come with a grant.
Okay.
Anyway.
It's just, I wasn't intuiting that
Oh,
from reading
Yeah.
what was there. Cause to me, that would be general organizational administrative operating costs, because your payroll, an employee,
Yeah. But
that's,
I think the intent is the payroll is part of the working capital that is connected to the grant that is awarded. So
Okay.
if the grant says you will hire someone to go out and help, feed the hungry, right? Then that's the purpose of the grant, and that is what this loan could help front.
Right,
Okay.
the purpose
Yeah.
of that grant, that's what we're funding. We're not funding the general operating of
Okay.
everything that's already
Purpose of the
exists.
grant.
Yeah. So
Just fund the purpose of the grant.
it would be
I need to
payroll
excuse
costs.
myself.
Oh, thank you for coming, Steve.
Great
Thanks,
discussion.
very
All
Thanks,
helpful.
right,
Steve.
take care.
Thanks, Steve.
Congratulations once
Yes,
again.
Yes,
congrats.
Congratulations.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Happy to hopefully answer any other questions as we
Page
keep
7.
going. Yeah.
Wait,
Page
I'm still
7.
on 6.
All right.
Oh, we're still on 6?
Collateral.
Sorry.
Okay, collateral.
Why do we need any of this?
Yeah, collateral's guaranteed, right?
We don't.
All loans must be acceptable real property, equipment, receivables, other collateral.
Do you want it just
The
in there to
collateral is
read?
the
I
grant.
thought the grant, I
Yeah.
don't know
The
how.
grant is the collateral.
grant is
Grant
The,
is
If
the
you're-
the grant's collateral, but maybe this is the spot where Shannon can put in language that we have to be first.
Ooh.
I don't know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I don't know
first.
what I don't know what that
First in
language
lien?
is, but
Yeah.
should
We should be
they?
senior in-
What do you got?
Well,
We should be senior in the
Yeah.
capital stack.
Senior in the
But-
capital.
What he said.
Okay.
what did Costu say? Because I didn't quite catch it.
Senior.
Senior in the capital stack, which I'm going to use
Yeah.
sometime today.
Yeah, I
Just
like
in
that.
conversation.
But here's the problem. If the not-for-profit that we're gonna lend this bridge loan to
Uh-huh.
has a loan with a bank is never gonna give up first position.
No, they won't.
Impossible. They will not do it.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can see
that's a
that.
fair
But
point.
we
Will
did,
not.
in the application, we do have them asking them to disclose that. So we should know up front, if they've got this giant loan out there and those financials look shaky, and, these are questions I think the loan committee could ask, how can we be assured that we're going to be in first position to
And
get
I agree with
paid?
that, but that's
Right.
mutually exclusive from the question on the collateral. You
Um,
can't say we're gonna be first position,
Right.
It's not
because
gonna
they're not,
happen.
bank's not gonna allow it.
Yeah,
then we'll never end up writing
We'll
a
never
loan.
end up
Yeah.
writing a loan.
that's right.
Is there a way to just make sure that,
We're second
but
if there's
for
a bank.
the bank
But for the
and
bank,
a loan,
okay.
I want to make sure no one else, I want to make sure that the nonprofit hasn't done this somewhere else with the same grant.
That's important.
That's
That's
what
different than a
I'm,
loan with a bank. I agree with
Yes.
you totally, Rachel, exactly.
so
that's
I want to
very
make
important.
sure, yep,
That's exactly where I was going earlier, that we can do that. However, we cannot change the loan contract with a bank, etc.
right,
However, for something equal, we cannot be second to that, because if we are already second to that, then do we even want to go in that? And I think that'll be loan review committee's responsibility to make sure that we are not. So we cannot change an existing contract or existing indebtedness.
Mhm.
However, if that is being considered right now or is in parallel that competes with this or is being duplicated, we should not be second to that.
So maybe under the collateral, we're just asking,
Either
has
first
this
or second.
grant been used to
Correct.
collateralize any other loans? And if the answer
Correct. Otherwise, we
is,
cannot
If it's
collateralize.
no, then we're
Just-
first.
and
If,
if it's the,
if
yes, but
it's a
just the
bank,
bank,
then we're
second.
second.
Okay.
Correct.
Right.
No first, bank second.
Right.
Okay. And we
And
can,
the question, because Hillary, you said in the application, they have to disclose any bank
Yeah.
loans that they have.
yes.
The question for us really is there any, are there any provisions in the loan document with a bank that, I'm trying to think how I want to word this, that forces the not-for-profit to give something to the bank, should they be should they be given a grant?
Oh, right,
Banks tie up
receiving-
everything.
right. Does
Yeah.
receiving the grant trigger some sort of payment obligation?
To the bank, exactly.
That
Right.
then our collateral
You know,
becomes,
if you get $100,000 grant, the bank gets $10,000.
yeah,
Right,
You know, because that doesn't work for us,
correct.
No.
right?
yeah. And I think that's where under this banking financial information, we can update this because right now I just have it as what are your who do you currently own money to? And then do you have any outstanding debt or have you recently applied for a new loan or a new line of credit? So even if they're in the application process, we want them to disclose that.
Right.
But maybe we can add something about, is this grant, and I'm going to butcher all of the words,
Right.
but
we wanna
basically, is
know-
this grant, if when received, is this grant also being kind of promised to
Correct. Is it-
another entity? And
Exactly.
if so,
Is it
please
collateralized
attach those
or
documents.
is it using
Are
to
there any
secure
other
any other?
obligations?
No
Yeah, obligations,
duplications of
there
Any
you
other
go.
obligations to other lenders?
For
In-
this
that-
money
that-
specifically.
To the grant money specifically?
Yeah.
And that would be, wouldn't that be stipulated with liens and things on stuff they
Well,
might have? I mean, I'm
Yeah, I
wondering
mean,
if we
that's
want,
Yeah.
exactly how
we
the bank
wanna-
is gonna write it,
right,
but
we
you
would
Yeah.
know,
wanna
Right.
see
banks are
that kind of
famous, they
stuff.
tie up everything.
Yeah.
So I'm going
So
to add a
one-
question. Oh, go ahead, Costu.
Two things on that specific point. One thing you can say simply, and council can help, is no alternate pledging or pledging towards grant funds other than our collateral. That's one. And this is not legal language, but just what they can do. Second thing is about the call feature, the call option.
Mm-hmm.
So no sharing or calling of the whole loan. Because let's say a loan is 100 grand, somebody said, and the grant is 100 grand. If the bank has a full call feature, they can simply say, oh, you have the funds, now you return it. Or the 10% that Joe brought up. So both should be categorized.
Mhm.
Okay.
100% partial call.
All right, I think I followed that. So basically just making sure I got that right, Costu.
Yep.
So basically in their documents from a bank is that the bank can't call the whole loan. Is that what we're saying?
So yeah,
Okay.
the thing is, we cannot even change that contract. That's one.
Yes.
Not with them, right? Second thing is, if they're having alternate conversations or they have had alternate conversations related to this grant and it's already pledged, we are not going to participate. And if you are going to bring in somebody else, one, we have to be senior and it cannot be pledged to them in any form. So there can be no cross pledging.
That's all in the loan
All right.
application, right?
All right. And
Got
then
it.
on the option that I believe Joe mentioned, if again, there cannot be a whole call option. So the whole debt cannot be called back, or a partial call or sharing. Basically, nobody is recipient of these funds other than the not-for-profit organization.
Okay.
Right.
That's it. And they give it back to us.
Okay. I'm wondering if, and I'm just somewhat thinking out loud, do we want to just clarify all of this discussion here in the application and leave the policy relatively as is, or making small changes and bringing both to the board? Or do we want this to go back to governance first and then?
No, I
You-
think best to talk to the council, then bring it to the board,
Okay.
unless Mike says otherwise.
Yeah,
No,
I like
that's
getting
what we
it.
should do.
I like getting all of this back to the board
Yeah.
in
So that we
next
can
week
come
or the
back
week
here
after,
and-
yeah,
and
and then
do
we
it.
can
Yeah.
do it, yeah, as
Right.
opposed to, because it seems to me some of the loan fund policy suggested changes are relatively small, more language changes, and then a lot of this discussion stuff can be clarified in the application, which has not gone before the board yet.
Right, but the two things have to jive, obviously.
Yes.
You can't have a
Yeah,
loan
yeah, yeah.
policy that
That's different
violates
from
the
the
application
application.
or vice versa.
No, I think just
Right.
the application could be a place where we could expand upon some
Okay.
of.
So the other question that comes up, and I hate to keep
No,
prolonging this
please
thing,
do it.
but so let's say that there's a bank involved and the bank has their grip on some portion of the grant money,
Mhm.
right? Do we want the flexibility to say, okay, we understand that, we're okay with it. If you get 100 grand, you got to give the bank 10 of it. But once you get your grant money, you got to give us the 90 and we'll hold the bag on the balance of the 10, or we're going to say that precludes you from getting a loan from us.
Or can you only borrow 90?
Or can you only borrow 90? Exactly.
Well, it's just.
Well, no, it doesn't matter because the bank gets 9.
But would we, I mean, I get where you're going, but our full pot is 275.
75.
So I can't imagine us giving anybody 100.
No, I use it as a number.
Right,
You
that's
give them
what I'm
50.
saying.
You give them
Right.
50.
Yeah,
But
just-
all I'm
just for-
saying, if the
Yeah.
bank has a provision in their loan documents that says they get a piece of the grant,
Right.
are we going to say, is our charter, whatever you want to call it, are our marching orders that's going to preclude us from approving a loan, a bridge loan to a not-for-profit, or we're willing to accept that when the not-for-profit gets their grant for 50, they're not going to give us all the 50 back at once.
They're going to give us 40.
They're going to give us 40 or 45 or whatever the number is. So we put that into our revolving loan fund and we're holding the bag on the balance. And what's the
So is it possible, so is it possible that in a scenario like that, we're gonna have the application and anything that's owed out on with a bank, if that's the case, and they want 50, but 10 of that has got to go back to the bank, we say, we only can loan you 40.
Yeah, I think we do
So-
what Rachel was saying.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what I was
which I
saying.
misspoke, Rachel. I was
Yeah.
wrong.
So I think before we get too far in the weeds on making a decision here, I want to point out on page 4, we have, council put in a footnote, which I'm sure we talked about. It's just not percolating to top of mind, that the loan proceeds may not exceed 40% of the total project cost, subject to the requirements of the corresponding grant award. So I think we may run into situations where we're likely, because of that language, likely to see a co-lend or a bank also involved. If a non-for-profit's getting a grant for 100,000, they've got some of this money, they just don't have the whole nut, and then we come in with like 40,000 on it. But if they don't have any of it, there could be a bank coming in with a $60,000 loan for the other amount, and that's where we may be more likely to see these contracts with banks come up. Or do we want to change
no,
that
hang on.
language?
So is this
No, we're not for anything. We're not indicating this. They do their portion, we do our portion. However, Joe has a point, And we can sort that point by limiting our exposure by only awarding the loan in the amount, as Rachel was saying, in the amount necessary. However, Joe does bring up another question, which I think is important. Let's say there is a working capital loan out from a bank, and they are going to use proceeds from UCCRC for working capital. They should not be allowed to simply pay the bank back. Is not for that purposes either. It's kind of a backdoor entry into getting the bank money, money to the bank.
Ooh, using the money to pay.
But we
bank.
have,
Yeah.
But that's administrative in general, is
well,
that not?
we have one that refinancing existing debt. We have that. So
It's
they,
not
Right.
really refinancing existing debt, it's just paying existing
I
debt.
don't think that,
Correct.
I don't think that'll
Oh.
cover that.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna cover
Alright.
that, cause I
But
read that
general,
already too,
but
when
general
Randall brought that
organizational
up.
or administrative operating costs.
Yeah,
Paying a
Yes,
bank,
because
that's
they're-
an operating
they're
cost,
factoring
right?
loans.
Right, yes.
So that
Okay.
would be an ineligible use because it is here under ineligible use of funds. Loan proceeds may not be used for general, organizational, or administrative operating costs. So giving it to a bank, that's an operating cost. So
yeah.
Correct.
they're already kicked out with that one.
Well, they may not be because it could be factoring or it could be fronting. That's why it's just, I think we should just talk to council about it
Okay.
and let them decide
yeah, that's
and
illegal,
recommend.
yeah. Cause it would have to go from refinancing / paying existing,
Correct.
you know?
While we're on this footnote 2 on page 4,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I understand what we're referring to here when we say project cost.
Yeah.
That sounds like IDA language, but in this case, loan proceeds may not exceed 40% in brackets
Of the grant,
of the total project cost, meaning,
I interpret that, which again, this could be where we need to update and clarify the language as so I have written a number of grants, and one of the things most grants have is a match or a matching. So you may say, hey, I'm gonna go feed the hungry, and it's gonna cost me $100,000 to do, and the grant is gonna cover 75% of that. So you have to pay, and sometimes it could be in kind or whatever, but you're responsible for 25% of the cost. So I think when I look at total project cost, is the actual cost to administer the grant may be separate from the actual amount that the grant will reimburse. But I
So,
think this language is not clear.
this
so,
language is
Not
not
at
maybe
all.
a little bit
Mhm.
clearer.
no, that's
And that
along the
could just
lines of
be
when
my
we did
reinterpretation.
CRC through People's Place. What we got hit with on that was, you know, we moved ahead with $100,000 for People's Place. And then with, you know, getting into the weeds on that, it came back to bite us for an additional 10
To
for administrative costs. So we had to up the
Right.
ante to 110. You see, so I see where you're going with this, Hill. So,
But again, we have, it may not exceed, so the loan proceeds may not exceed 40%. So we're not looking to do the whole nut.
The whole
Which
nut of what? Someone's going to be asking for 10 grand because they want to build out a space or put in a training program or something that costs 10 grand and they get a grant for
But that we're saying that we can't do that because we can't.
right, because that's
Loan out-
40% of the 10 grand
We
we
could
were only
loan
gonna
out
give them?
4%
Why
Yeah, it
come?
doesn't make
or
sense.
Why come?
4,000.
Doesn't make sense.
But we
Again,
want to be able to give 100%.
so then we need to
To-
change that language.
To
is
me,
what-
that whole
yeah,
footnote goes.
yeah.
That's my
Okay.
opinion.
I think so too, because
Yeah.
40%,
And again, I don't remember having.
you know, if you need a $50,000
I don't think
grant,
we've ever
you
discussed
know,
that.
right?
Yeah.
we're
And
giving
guys
you
were on the same committee,
$16,000.
so, yeah.
We're either gonna give it or we're not.
Exactly.
Right.
So I
Just,
think
you know.
that we'll just talk with council about updating and just removing that footnote as it really ties our hands on.
Yeah, costume, I'm
Yeah.
glad you called, you're gonna be busy.
That's okay. And actually, on that one for Chris or council, let's just make sure our hands are not tied the other way around as well. Like
Yeah.
if we don't want 200%, we should be able to do 50% as well.
And I think
Yeah.
we talked about that earlier where
No
someone
capital
came in
cost.
and said 50 and we said, well, we'll give you 25. I feel like we
Right.
had that. Yeah.
You guys got
But,
flexibility on that.
but no cap, no flow. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right.
Where else are we
We're up to
here?
page 7.
Page 7. So on the due date, grace period and late fees, because the first loan payment's not due until 60 days after the closing,
Mhm.
does interest accumulate from the first day of the loan?
So that's a great question.
Or at the time of the first payment.
Well, I think if at this point, as we discussed, we're going to just collect our payment when we get the grant, when the grant monies are
Correct.
distributed.
Right.
I think at that point we would calculate the interest payment and add that to our bill.
So,
Right,
Because
but
we're
I'm
not
doing it-
collecting monthly payments
so
anymore.
this whole paragraph,
So we have to update this whole
This whole
paragraph.
paragraph needs to be rewritten.
it needs to be rewritten.
Right, to
Exactly.
be consistent with what we've now decided is our
Yep.
Right,
approach.
right.
Okay, all right.
And then the other things are just suggestions. The last two bullets about past dues, let's hope we don't have any. Do we want to add there that those notices are sent certified mail
Yeah.
with a return receipt?
Where are you? I'm sorry.
It's down at the bottom, collection.
Seven.
Oh,
Collections.
collections. I'm looking in the, okay.
Yeah, I think any
yeah,
past
I
due or
think so.
default letter has to be sent by certified mail.
Right, that's.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
agree.
suggested.
And return receipt.
Right,
Okay, yeah, I agree.
okay.
I feel like that's very old fashioned of us.
Well, I
What,
think the
sending
idea of a
certified mail?
demand letter,
Return receipt requested.
we do that on
Well, you have to do it. though.
everything
Yeah,
we
you got
mail
time for
out
that.
is return receipt.
Never got
Yeah.
it.
I never mail anything to the government
Or-
without getting a return receipt. Never.
We do, we send everything, and I don't know if it's return receipt, but everything that we mail out, aside from just like small mail, like real mail, they have to sign for it, and then we get a copy of that. The
God, we are
signature,
so
and then we
old.
bring them.
Well,
We
what-
bring them to the
Give me
public
an option,
hearing.
Rachel,
Everybody's
because I hate the
signature.
system, but I don't have an option.
FedEx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have to
Yeah,
sign
you
for
can do
everything.
that.
Oh, you don't have to
FedEx.
sign for that.
You
They
don't?
leave it right on
No?
my porch.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
they
They
deliver the
toss it
packets.
right on there.
Oh,
The bundle of checks are in there and they just throw it on the
My
porch.
garage door was open yesterday, they threw it on my garage floor, took a picture and said it's been delivered.
And that's what they do now. They take a picture.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
So they took
So-
a picture of my neighbor's porch with all our stuff on it. My wife goes, I don't even know whose porch that is.
I've had that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I think we all have.
That's
So I
wrong.
think
All right.
just moving on to page 8, this was, I had highlighted this in my questions, but again, this was where we had, I think, some friction because we have 3 consecutive defaults in payment and automatic acceleration, but then the next section is workouts that will make every attempt to kind of mitigate and, have all of these options. And then we say it's automatic, and then we list options where, again, that was just some maybe inconsistency in the determination of how we are going to actually deal with, non-payments. So that would just,
I mean, if you want to not get boxed into a corner, we could just change the language to
I think
say
just
instead of
re-
shall result in, may result
results, yeah.
in at the discretion of the
the
How about will?
committee.
committee.
Well, will is shall.
Will is shall.
Well,
But then it precludes us from some of these workouts
Right.
because we're
If
automatically
we
accelerating
say
the loan.
shall,
Yeah.
we can't do a workout, but if
Yeah.
we say may, we have the right to
That's
drop the
right.
hammer or
The loan committee.
Right.
Okay. All right. And then, okay, any other, as we keep kind of
Wanna-
going through this,
So we've talked about the rating system.
yeah, we had put in a rating system. And we had talked a little bit about, whether or not we would use this to make a determination outside of you're coming to us with the grant, right? And you say, oh yeah, I got this grant. And then we have this rating system. So some of my questions here was like, how are we applying this? Is this going to be used for like portfolio balancing? Is there a trigger that says if you rate here or there, we can then use those supporting documents to say, hey, we do not want to move forward with this loan at this time because of a high risk that we identified. So, anyway,
I don't know.
these are just some
The
thoughts.
rating system is very confusing to me.
I agree.
I'm acknowledging. I'm confused by the rating system.
and
okay.
my
I would
opinion is we're gonna have to just feel our way through the first few.
Yes.
Can we
hate-
not use a rating system?
I'm not a loosey-goosey kind of guy, but I'm not so sure we
I don't
wanna-
think
Yeah, I
based on
agree
this
with Joe on
policy,
that.
we're being,
Loosey
loose.
goosey? No, I don't think
this
so
is
either.
just, this seems like an exercise that's not gonna add value necessarily to what we're accomplishing.
I think it adds time and delay.
I think
Okay.
the purpose, at least the reason this was in the Columbia County, and the reason I kept this was more, yeah,
My
right.
back is killing me.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
Was more for reporting out to the board and the loan committee of saying like, hey, we've got 5 loans that are doing really good and they're all very low risk, solid performance. And then to let people know how we're determining if there's a charge off likely. So they were using this as a way to take all of this data and the red flags that may be kind of smacking you in the face and making that
How big is their loan fund?
they've got millions of dollars out on the street at any one
Okay.
time.
Done.
Okay.
That's
But they have a
Cross the
very,
top.
they said like in the 30 years that they've been doing this, they've only had to like call like 2 loans. So that this is helping to kind of
Put
spot
this in a
those red
file and
flags.
title the file. When we have millions of
When,
dollars in our
Right.
loan fund,
and that's not just in the loan fund, that's
open
what's,
in the case of
When we,
emergency.
that's what's
when
out
we
on the
cross
street.
that bridge,
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Okay. All
Delete,
right.
delete.
So we will, make that as a recommendation of an
anything on
update.
10?
On 10, I have a question.
Please question
On that
it.
lending authority,
Yes.
don't you want the loan committee to have the first pass regardless of the value of the loan? Why would you want to bring it to the board if the loan committee's saying this is?
Oh
this
yeah,
is-
so I think a
Yes.
yes on
you,
all of
you
these.
want yes on all of them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right?
okay. Yeah,
point.
thank you. Good catch on that. Oh, I know why. Well, I think I know why the intent could have been on very small loans. Again, this is coming from another CRC. What they do is they allow those loans to move very quickly and get those out without kind of like a secondary approval from the board.
Yeah, but so the
So-
first 2 were fine. The committee
It's
can
the
say
second
yes, the
2.
board doesn't need it, but it's
But
the second
now
2.
we want to add, yeah. So
Yes.
then they need the yes of the committee and the yes of the board.
Yeah, why, all I'm suggesting is why bother the entire board if the committee's review was like, this shouldn't go anywhere?
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
all I'm
No, I
saying.
agree.
Well,
Okay.
the only upside to that is the board may agree with us, but it also gives us coverage if,
You say no and
We-
it comes to bite you. kind of
yeah,
thing.
do you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's a
I
it's
didn't
a
think of it
backstop.
that way.
It's more of like,
Puts
you know,
the-
Mike
takes the
needs to
liability off of you.
right. Mike
Yeah.
needs to, you know, spend $25 for something.
Yeah.
He still has to come to us
That's right.
to say, I need to spend $25. We're not going to say no, don't spend it. But there may be questions. So I think
That's a good point.
all of it should go.
Mhm.
We can say our recommendation is this because it's such a small amount of money, and the board may say,
So maybe I can change
to the
that.
structure.
Just make
Yeah.
them all yes.
Keep to the
Yeah.
structure.
Maybe
Yeah,
just
yeah.
add that the loan required approval. So maybe instead of approval, I don't know, maybe a recommendation.
Maybe a recommendation.
I can ask council just to
And
kind of
until
go
it's
back.
board
complete, we
board-
wouldn't
or
move
you
a
could say board
recommendation forward.
concurrence for all
Yeah.
loan
Board,
for
I like
release.
that. Yeah.
Board concurrence for all release of loan funds. There you go.
That's fine.
So we can approve it and say, okay, but the money
Yeah.
don't get cut until the
Until
full board says,
looks at it. Yeah,
go.
I agree. Okay.
And then that really follows into, I only had one thing on page 11,
Yeah.
but now page 11, the whole thing needs to be yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree. Okay. We'll just yes the whole thing.
One page takes away from another.
Oh, all right.
All right.
I like it.
Application.
Yeah,
It's
this
the only
is
left. The only thing left.
so
One question,
yeah, please go ahead.
just on the prior point that Randall was making, are we also, how do I say this? Are we bringing everything, or what are we thinking about in terms of exceptions? So there could be certain projects or applications that come in that are exceptional in certain ways that board has to review. So I kind of see Joe's point that for small things, and I like the language, but in case of exceptions, does the board authorize, or does the board actually approve, or does the board simply say yes or no to the loan review committee, and loan review committee approves and we still pay or declines?
Well, I think at the end of the day, all of it is going to end up coming to the board because the board will, this committee will approve it. And if we think there is an exception, we'll note that in any recommendations that
Yeah.
would come to the full board, right? And then
Right.
the board, we can't start cutting checks until the board says, go to it. The board may say, we're fine with 1, 2, and 3, but 4 is a no-go for us.
Yeah.
So we can cut the checks for 1, 2, and 3, but number 4, we have to send them a denial letter.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right.
it's gonna come back to you guys or to us in full anyway. So the concurrence of the board before a dollar leaves this place.
Okay.
There you go.
Makes
So-
sense.
All right.
I think to that, let's check with council again. We should be saying loan review committee recommends, makes a recommendation, does not approve actually. So
Yeah.
simply
Yeah,
making
whatever.
a rec-
Right.
Yeah. Because it's not our money to spend, it's the board's money to spend.
So a recommendation with, must make a recommendation with concurrence from the board. Okay. That's easy-ish. We got that. All right. Anything else on the policy itself? And just to confirm with everyone, I will get with council, review these recommendations, and then we will have this on the June agenda for the board.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I move we adjourn.
So you don't, well,
Wait, do we
on
have to
the
do anything in the
application,
application?
Well, I was gonna say, yeah.
section 6, you gotta change that based on all the agreements we just made. The bold in section 6.
Correct.
Um,
All-
yes,
they're all
okay,
gonna
I'll
go to the
update
board.
all of this language, yep.
Yep.
Right. That's the only thing I
Update
saw.
the
That's it. That's the only
boldness.
thing I see, and everything else is pretty
Well,
good,
the only thing,
straightforward.
I think I put a note in here. I'm going to put some more questions around any potential, commitments of the grant dollars with other lending institutions on this application, correct?
Yep.
Okay. That was my note on the application.
Okay.
All right.
Move we
And
adjourn.
I'll go through with a fine tooth comb too and try to catch any other
Well, you did a good
inconsistencies.
job.
Well, sometimes it's your eyes start to bleed after you look at something for so long and legalese.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That was
All
that.
right.
Oh, do you
Motion
guys
to,
want to elect officers of this, or how do you want to do that?
I thought
do we
you
need to
said
elect
the chair
officers?
did- Oh,
Well, right now, it's just, in my records, I just have the three of you. How do you want to structure the committee? Do you all just want to have an equal component? Do you want the vice chair to serve as a liaison to the board? Just, maybe just keep it as the vice chair serves as the liaison to the committee. That way if I have a question for the committee in general, I can just go to the vice chair.
I'm fine with that. If
Okay.
you're fine with
That's
that.
fine. That's fine with me.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Appreciate that.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Aye.
guys.